Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. So, Texas is up 3-1 in the World Series, and I really don't think it's going to be a sweep. All right, I know. I don't know. It just seems like there's too much money on the table. You know what I mean? And I think this has been true about baseball and postseason forever, since all these companies knew how much money they can get in postseason baseball. And so you're not going to see. I don't think you're going to see a 5-game World Series. All right. I think that they frequently always go to 7 because there's just too much money on the table to play those other 2 games. You know, you think about the kind of money those stadiums bring in for a World Series game at their park. If the ticket prices are ridiculous, that's the reason why I only watch highlights and stuff like that. I watch the game on TV where I can. You know, it's so monetized now. It's really ridiculous. And this is the reason why they do that. It's for this postseason. This is the kind of money they're raking in at those games. I guarantee you, the Arizona's going to win the next 2 games, and it's going to be decided in the 7th. Because that means everybody makes their money. You know, these organizations are businesses. So I'll be surprised if Arizona doesn't win the next 2 games in the World Series. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Is it over here? No, it's over here. Patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. Hashtag Shock Monkey Radio is the thing you need to use if you're gonna send me money through Cash App. I would appreciate that if you become a patron or you send me money through Cash App. You can also follow me on social media. Is it over here? Shoot. These screens, the left and right thing is all screwed up. It's okay. My social media is over here, so if you want to follow me on social media, that's cool. Hey, Twitter people, if you viewed I gave you a sneak peek of my notes today. It's like, how am I doing so far? Am I still on my notes? So, welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman. Did you have a happy Halloween? Did you have a happy Halloween? So, I didn't get to see a whole lot of costumes. I had to work, but I did, there's always candy laying around afterwards, you know what I mean? And so, I didn't see a whole lot of good costumes. So if you want to tweet me some good costumes that you saw, some pics you saw, I would really appreciate that, because I didn't see a whole lot of great costumes. And in fact, all the best costumes I saw were on Twitter or X, whatever. Anyway, I would appreciate that. But did you have some candy? I had some candy. Did you have candy? Did you have a lot of chocolate? See, we didn't have a whole lot. The candy that was left over, see, what happened was, my folks said that 25% of the kids that came up said they had peanut allergies. And I was like, what are you doing to these kids? How are you denying kids Snickers? That's the point. It's why are you denying kids Snickers? The best candy bar ever invented. And I come home to a big pile of them because my parents, we'll just pick them out and give them to Scott since he loves them so much. And so there's a bunch of Snickers. I come home to a big pile of it, and I'm like, who doesn't take Snickers? It's a mean mom who wants to deny their kid. Because every other candy bar, if you ask me, is a tease. Every time I have a Twix, I'm thinking of a Snickers. I'm thinking, damn, a Snickers is better than a Twix. You know what I'm having a Kit Kat, and it's I appreciate the low number of calories, but this is not as good as a Snickers. Kit Kat is not as good as Snickers. So every other kind of candy bar is just not the same as a Snickers. And I got a whole pile of them. And I wasn't that drunk last night, but I'm pretty sure 50% of the Snickers bars that I had were smooth. What is up with this? Have you heard anything about this? Because I did a little bit I wasn't that drunk. I've seen 50%. I don't think I was that drunk. You don't really hallucinate when you're drinking either. But 50% of the Snickers, fun-sized Snickers bars I had were smooth. So I did a little research into this, and so apparently they may transition to the smooth type of Snickers bar, as opposed to, I don't even want to say the word that they used for this type of Snickers bar. They say it looks like a vein. Okay? I don't even want to say what people are saying it looks like. And if you're using that word and you saying that looks like a blank vein, you don't know how to Snickers. All right? If you're looking at a candy bar and you think dick, there's something wrong with your brain. You understand? That's not our fault. And when you say we got to take that out of there because that makes me think of something, it's like, that's on you. And two, you're cheating everybody out of chocolate. That's the best part of the Snickers, is where the chocolate is thickest. You're ruining it for everybody because you have dick on your brain. It's not us. It doesn't even taste, I hear, it doesn't even taste the same. So I don't understand this thing with the Snickers. All right. I guess it's still good either way. But I mean, if I had a preference, I'm still like, hey, Subway, bring back this trench cut. You know what I'm talking about? What a mess they are now. That trench cut, they almost never made a mess. Anyway. Snickers rant. And let me tell you something about Twix, too. All right, Twix, why are you making us choose sides? Why are you making us choose sides that are relative, that change rapidly? That change rapidly. If I hand you one of those Twix, one of them is to my right and to my left. I hand them to you, they're two completely different ones. You know what I mean? If you drop your Twix on the floor and it's upside down and you pick up your Twix bars, what?
First of all, it doesn't matter, because 2 for me, none for you.
Right. And I'm getting a lot of these little tiny single Twix, and it has TWIX on it. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's a Twix. You cannot put Twix on the label if there's less than 2. If there's anything other than 2. Twix, TW, in twins, it implies a pair. All right, and how dare you try to make us choose between which Twix is right or left, right or wrong. You get those little single ones, the Twix. It's Twix either way, I guess, if you're talking about them in the plural sense. But I get one Twix, and it has right on it. And I was like, well, and then I get another one that says left on it. It's not like I'm not going to eat the left one, because there is no right or left when it's a single. Why are you making us do this? Why are you making me argue about this? I know this campaign's been out there for a while. I know it's been a long time. But when you're sitting there stuffing Twix into your drunk-ass face, hey, you got a lot of thoughts about it. Good thing I got my laptop open. So I don't think that, candy should be involved in these kinds of fights. So if a candy company says, hey, your candy bar looks like a dick, and it's like, you don't know candy bars. All right? That's your problem. You need to go see a psychiatrist if you're looking at a candy bar and thinking dick. That's not our problem. So we're not going to change our perfect recipe that's, has, been selling for like hotcakes for a long time. Same thing with Twix. Excuse me, I'm still 86%. Same thing with Twix. Your product is good enough. You don't need to get involved in this fight. And so when I was thinking about all this, I was also thinking about Jeremy's Chocolates, the chocolate company that Jeremy Boring founded, and they have the he, him, and she, her bars. One has nuts and one doesn't. And if you don't know, that's kind of the point. You failed 5th grade biology, and you need to go back to school. You need to learn science again. All right. But it's not like I got any, when I searched my niece's bag last night, it's not like I found any he, him, or she, her bars in there. Seems to me the only rich people give out Jeremy's Chocolates. People like us, the common people, we got to be confused and argue about Twix and Snickers. Anyway, it was Halloween. I kind of missed it because I had to work. And so, all I had was like leftovers and candy to eat. So, I mean, you enjoy your holiday your way. I'll enjoy it my way as I can. Yeah, anyway. Oh, I forgot this thing's backwards. Alrighty. See, I have this. The notes I made for this next thing are kind of tough because I've been wondering, like, how to approach this. It's all a bunch of complicated thoughts twisted together. I may regret even going into this topic, but I'm going to try. And I had a comment once, and it kind of got caught in my craw. And the comment was, it's just some guy in front of a green screen talking. And I'm sorry if that's not enough for you. I'm sorry it's not enough for you. It's lunchtime for EK. He's been working all day.
There's a little one.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I got this comment saying it's just some guy talking about it in front of a green screen. What's the big deal about that? And it's like, I'm sorry that, it's not enough for you. I'm sorry that you need to be an active listener in order to find what's enjoyable about my show. I'm sorry I don't just solely post videos of me running around malls harassing people. Because apparently video channels that do stuff like that tend to be way more popular than my little tiny channel here. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of crazy stuff happening, strangers treating each other poorly and stuff like that. People recording fights.
Dogs and cats,
dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria out there. I understand this is a chaotic world, but the fact that, just because a whole bunch of people liked your video because you caught a fight in a classroom doesn't mean you're now a cameraman who has to try to catch fights on camera in order to gain clout, in order to maintain your channel. That doesn't have to be your theme. My best video, my most popular video on this channel is a video about Nightwing's butt. The last thing I want to do is make this channel all about Nightwing's butt. I talk about a lot of stuff. We've talked about a lot of things over the years, and I talk about them, what I think, in depth, in a clear way. So I mumble sometimes, I know that. But, I want to challenge you to think. I don't want you to just be sitting there watching flashing colors on the screen and giggling like a 4-year-old with no intelligence. I want to create content that makes people think, that challenges people to think. I don't want to be like all that other popular content out there that is just creating dumb, mindless, ow my balls kind of content that it only entertains idiots. I want to entertain the intelligent. I want to, challenge the minds of people around me. Because what I value is intelligence. I don't want to be a dumb guy who's sitting there in his chair going, oh my balls. I find that kind of humor juvenile, but a real clever joke, that it requires your brain, a clever turn of a phrase, as they say. What was that movie? The Clever Turn of Phrase. It was a spoof movie, scary movie, or non-13 movie, something like that. They had their professor, the scatological poop humor, your immature humor. That's how I feel.
I don't remember which one that is.
Yeah, but there's a clever. He does this actor. This is extra. He does this thing where clever turn of phrase. I found that to be hilarious. And that's what makes those movies good. It's like there's the bunch of juvenile scatological humor. Yeah, he's sitting there talking about how poop humor is somebody makes a fart joke and he says, "Oh, that's what you consider humor?" And he goes on this long tirade about how humor is eloquent and stuff like that, not just scatological. And then this toilet falls down from the floor above and starts spraying poop all over. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant argument to both sides of it, if you ask me. So, but what I'm saying is that that's not the kind of content I want to create. The kind of content I want to create is for people who can think, Plus, I respect you enough to not want to go out into public and make fun of you or try to humiliate you or even myself, because people do that too. Their content is they go out in public and make humiliate themselves in public, for the likes and the views. And then you got people who are going out and they're trying filming themselves working out and stuff like that. And they're tracking some guy in the background that keeps looking at them. Jesus, get over yourself. The world is filled. The world is filled with people like shitty artists and their shitty art. All right. And I appreciate that fact because that has allowed a free program like YouTube to allow my shitty art, onto the internet and so forth and allow it to be created. But I think that I can rise above the nonsense that people find entertaining and funny these days. But I don't know, how entertaining is this middle-aged guy preaching to you about how to be funny in a proper way? Anyway, see, that's what I mean. There's a bunch of complicated, twisted concepts all twisted up together in my head, and I don't know how I feel about it. Because, it's getting to a point where people are going to start literally committing felonies on camera for clout. And that's what I'm concerned about. You know, if you are the NSA in the NSA and your job is to monitor my channel, I am so sorry. You know, it's like this guy doesn't do anything. He's literally a guy in front of a green screen ranting. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? What's offensive about that? I'm not the guy who's breaking into people's houses like that Mizzy guy over in England, you know, or stealing people's dogs. You know, he's doing stuff that's getting him arrested. And unfortunately, because people are morons, that kind of stuff, you know, gets views. And views, you know, leads to a guy who's making money doing felonies on camera and uploading it to Facebook Live. That's even why you get all these auditors, these police auditors out there who, as soon as they get pulled over by the cops, they start recording. You know, say, you don't have the right. It's like, that's how you got the sovereign citizen movement. And it can lead to dangerous places. And so, you know, I think that, you know, it's far more challenging to sit in a room and talk to a camera by yourself and try to make it entertaining, at least for yourself. And if you wonder why I do my show and I'll giggle in between, it was like, you know, this is mostly for me. I know like 90% of the views are my views on these videos because I watch them. You know, I do all the tags, I do all the, you know, stuff in the description afterwards. You know, I'm highly involved in my channel. You know, I'm a creator, I'm a writer. I stopped writing books. You know why? Because people stopped reading books because the internet exists now. So I'm sorry for all you people who are like, when's the next Exit 13 book going to come out? It's like, I'm sorry. There's no money in it. People aren't reading. They're too busy watching videos of people bouncing up and down, saying ridiculous phrases over and over again. Trends, you know, that's all the internet is now. It's just a bunch of ridiculous, juvenile trends. And it sucks that I'm shadow banned. And it sucks that, you know, nobody wants to listen to my content because it's too intelligent. People want the dumb stuff that gets allowed on YouTube and gets millions of views because they promote the mindless nonsense. That doesn't challenge you to think. Anyway, I have to end rant. I gotta stop. All right. You know, I was thinking earlier today. You know, I delivered pizzas in the 90s, but before I went in the Navy, I delivered pizzas. We didn't have GPS back then. We didn't even have like those maps, those early like MapQuest. We didn't even have that back then. You know, back in like 95, 96 when I was delivering pizzas. And I cannot tell you how often I got lost. I got fired because I got lost so often. You know? And it was only after the invention of GPS I was able to like get a pizza delivery job and keep it, because when I got like a delivery to an apartment complex before GPS, I'd be driving around that apartment complex forever. Like, where is the numbers? And it's funny because I was thinking, it's like, when was the last time I got lost? And it was back delivering pizzas in the 90s. You know, I guess I was technically lost when I was on a Navy ship out in the ocean. I didn't know where I was, but I trusted the people driving the ship did. So, I mean, was I lost? What do you think? Technically lost? Yeah, I guess in the Navy, I guess I was lost. But, I mean, once GPS came around, I was just like, I haven't gotten lost since. And I think that that's amazing because I remember getting lost. It stinks. It makes you feel stupid. And frequently, back then, you'd have to pull over and talk to a human being. And someone like me is like, oh, I got to talk to a person? I remember as like before I went in the Navy, I had to take my dad to the airport once in Richmond. We got lost in downtown Richmond. We pulled over some guy walking around at 4 o'clock in the morning with a, you know, liquor bottle in a bag. We pull over and say, hey man, where's the airport? Hey, go down that way. And he gave us correct directions. It's very nice of him. You know, it's I don't know. I thought, when was the last time I was lost, like physically lost? And I was like, yeah, I guess like being in the Navy, because I was technically lost, but I knew where I was. I was on the ship. But I didn't know where I physically, anyway, it's a complicated thing, I suppose. But I was just thinking about that, and I was like, man, GPS saved my life. Because, you know, think about it. I'm klutzy. I'm naturally a klutz. I knock things over. That's why I was moving around equipment earlier, and EK is like, Please stop. Please stop. It's almost every week we go through this thing. It's like I try to help, and it's like, please stop touching stuff. So you're going to knock something over. I've seen it too many times, and it's like, fair. And I put my hands up, walk away. So I'm klutzy, and I get lost a lot. So thank you, technology. I am so happy the internet exists. I mean, it has bad things about it too, but I am happy the internet exists. All right. We may go a little bit faster than news. Like I said, I'm still not 100%. I'm 86%. Like the week I was off, I was like at 22%. It was bad. But now I've been hovering at like 86% for like 3 days. So if you hear like clicking in my mouth, that's the cough drops. And then he's already coughing a lot. And I was like, I know. But trust me, the cough drops help. So he got that, what's that? What do you call that? Electronic drum set? Electronic drum set the other day, and we were goofing around with it, and I tell you, it took me right back. It took me right back to all those times playing in bands, stuff like that, and being, good, decent at something, It made me feel good that, there was a black guy in the room who said, "Oh, you know what you're doing," and I was like, "Oh, now I'm cool." But no, it's just I've played in plenty of bands. I mean, when I was in band in middle school and high school, it's like I played trumpet then, and I didn't like it. There's too much agility, there's too much vocal control, and if you start smoking, there's no way you can be a professional trumpet player. So I was like, "Oh, I'm going to be a smoker. That's all there is to it." And so, but I was able to like drop out of band playing trumpet, but just knowing tempo and how to how notes work and how to read music, that gave me an advantage when I sat down in front of a drum set for the first time. And then I went out and I bought a drum set, and I was playing drums and I tuned the drums, and I learned it all. I learned it all by myself and stuff like that. And so EK and I were playing around with that electronic drum kit there, and some of the sounds that were coming out, I was like, "Ooh, I want to tighten the drum head." And it's like, no, we have to do that with like electronics or something. And I was like, oh, it was like, I could, if you got a drum key or something, it's like, or you'd hit the snare, and the snares, I was like, "Ooh, I want to tighten that snare." All these things started coming back to me about knowing how to play and tune a drum set. And I don't know, I kind of missed it because I sold my drum set before I went in the Navy, and I haven't really bought another one since. And, they make a lot of noise. I don't know if you know things about, like real drum sets. I mean, that's why electronic drum kits are good, because, they put out a digital sound that you put in a volume knob to. Acoustic drums, yeah, they can be loud. They can be very loud. But I do love them more. I do love the acoustic set more, because I was playing the drum machine, and I was like, "Oh, I want to move this rack around. I'll move this hi-hat over here. I'll move the ride lower." And and I mean, it's even the arrangement of the kit, the way you want the kit around you when you're playing. That's kind of like part of being playing drums and being a drummer. And so, I mean, it brought back all these memories of like being, I don't know, like good at something, like catching a rhythm, with a band and so forth, and just rocking, and it makes me think about what I was saying earlier about, being, creating good art. Is like good art is, it takes skill, and these days, like a lot of the art that people are creating musically speaking, is, a bunch of electronically generated beats and somebody's, talking about violence in themselves. I got a gun. I got a mirror. I keep looking at myself in the mirror. I like looking tough at myself in the mirror. I make faces into the mirror because I'm cool. I'm badass. Blah blah blah. We're cool. We're badasses. Blah blah blah. It seems like a lot of that is like over an electronic beat, and it's like, what talent is that? But if you see a band playing live or something like that, I mean, that's a completely different story. I mean, that's, it's the way art, should be in many ways. And so, I mean, the simple fact that anyone can talk over an AI generated beat, and consider that and put that out as music is kind of insulting to the concept of music in general, if you ask me. But if you're playing real instruments, even if that is real instruments being electronic drum kit, it's still physically an instrument. You're playing real guitars. I'm not getting all Queen, no synthesizers about this. What I'm saying is that, being the ability to play beautiful music is actually a difficult skill. Anyone could sample someone else's musical genius and put a beat under it. You know what I mean? Anyway, people are gonna hey, Media Matters, clip that one out. It's like, clearly he's racist. Yeah, I don't like rap. Sorry, it's not good. All right, let's get into the news worth knowing. We'll go quickly through it. Oh, cool. All right, so Kentucky declares a state of emergency after coal plant collapse. One worker is confirmed dead. So one worker's died. The second remains trapped Wednesday after Kentucky coal plant collapsed with them inside. Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear confirmed on X, formerly Twitter. Everyone does that. They confirmed on X, formerly Twitter. At least one of the workers trapped inside the colossal coal preparation plant in Martin County has died. Please pray for the family and loved ones of this individual, he wrote without elaborating. A couple radio stations confirmed the death. Beshear had signed an executive order earlier Wednesday declaring a state of emergency in Martin County following the collapse of the coal preparation plant. Two workers are trapped inside, and a number of teams are working to rescue these individuals. Beshear wrote earlier on X. The order mobilizes state resources to help. Kentucky police joined Brittany in praying for the safety for the brave teams working to rescue them. We'll share more information as available. So he keeps tweeting updates. Kentucky, keep praying, but the scene is bad, and we should be prepared for tough news out of Martin County. So he's already getting news. Oh boy. Yeah. So keep these people in your prayers. This is America. These are Americans. That's why it's the lead story, and it's like we should be concerned about people who work in these countries, these companies, dangerous jobs. Usually men working dangerous jobs for all of us. I know coal is a lot of pollution from coal, but hey, we still use it. It still gets used. You like your barbecues, don't you? We use gas grills. You're going to ban that too anyway. Whatever. All right, let's go to this next story. Pray for them, obviously. So FBI director goes silent when asked if country safer under Biden. Okay, so FBI Director Christopher Wray went silent Tuesday when questioned over whether the country is safer since President Biden took office. Is the United States safer from foreign terror threats today? Are we safer than when Joe Biden took office? From the day he took office, Senator Rick Scott from Florida, asked Wray during a Senate Homeland Security committee hearing. Ugh. Wray took an extended pause, sitting silently and appeared to be deep in thought before finally answering. Silence speaks volumes, right? Quote, what I would say to you is that the terror threats have elevated. It's a qualified yes. But I also think that there are a lot of things that the country has done throughout law enforcement to be better prepared to deal with them, he said, not directly saying whether the country has become safer under Biden's watch. That sounds like a yes. I asked FBI Director Wray a simple question. Is the U.S. safer today than it was before Joe Biden took office? After nearly 10 seconds of silence, he finally admitted that all we know is the terror threats have elevated. Scott wrote on X, formerly Twitter, after the hearing. See, every time. During the hearing, Wray warned that the threat of a terror attack against Americans has been raised to a whole nother level during the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. The reality is that the terrorism threat has been elevated throughout 2023, but the ongoing war in the Middle East has raised the threat of an attack against Americans in the United States to a whole nother level, Wray said. And they talk about Hamas a little bit. But the point is that this guy was silent for like 10 seconds. All right. And it's hilarious to watch. It's hilarious to see the silence. And the silence speaks volumes. And what really should be scary is why he was silent for a while before answering that question. And I'll tell you the reason why. It's because he was afraid of speaking out against the regime. He was afraid of making the regime look like they're doing a bad job. Yes, the terror threat is elevated. Yes, crime is going up in the United States because you're not like prosecuting these people. You know, you're allowing like, you know, all this, you know, all these people in America who are, you know, trying to support Palestine. You know, that creates danger for people who are Jewish or support Jews in this country. Yes, the danger level's up. Yes, the terror threat is up. Because we've got a weak leader, and his name is Joe Biden, and his regime of lackeys. You know? United Auto Workers, you cashing in while they can. That's why all these unions, you know, they vote Democrats for this moment. So they can get like a ridiculous contract. Anyway, I guess that's a whole different thing. But you're not allowed to talk bad about the regime, and that's what that guy was afraid of. All right. Let's talk about this sad story. Veteran cop killed months before retirement by teen with driver's permit. Prosecutor. Excuse me. A teenage BMW driver was criminally negligent when he killed a New York detective affectionately known to the department as Furby, prosecutors said. Yonkers Detective Sergeant Frank, Gualdino, a 53, was only 8 months away from retirement when a 16-year-old driver with a learner's permit lost control of his car, crossed double yellow lines, and smashed head-on into Gualdino's car. It was back on December 1st, 2022 in Westchester County, New York, bordering suburb of New York City. Gualdino was rushed to hospital where he died of his injuries. He left behind his wife for nearly 30 years and 2 children. Jeepers. To say that the situation has been painful and difficult from day one through today is an understatement, although the first steps towards closure are for all involved. Yonkers Police Commissioner Christopher Sapienza said in a statement. Forgive me, I'm bad with these New York names. The driver was arrested. The grand jury indicted him of a felony charge of criminally negligent homicide. Local newspaper, the Journal News, noted the teenager was brought into court with Gualdino's handcuffs. Cops do that a lot. The office has been committed throughout the nearly year-long investigation to seeking accountability for this tragic and devastating incident that took the life of Detective Sergeant Gualdino. Westchester County District Attorney Mimi Roca said in a statement. These are all New York names. The teenager's lawyer, Peter Tillum, noted that the charge is the lowest felony level in New York State and says the charge shows his client was acting recklessly and driving under the influence and said the case was moved to a family court. So it's drunk driving. Ugh. Tragic situation, no winners. Innocent public servant lost his life. Yeah. I was watching a police video the other day. This morning. I was watching one this morning, and this guy was trashed. He was trashed. And he's like, why are you bothering me? Why are you bothering me? And it's like, and so whenever there's a drunk driving fatality, that's why cops do that. You know, it's like the guy was, you know, your drunk driving is very, very, very dangerous. And so that's why the cops do that stuff, is to save lives, to save your life. Anyway, end rant there. All right. 3 more stories, and I definitely want to. All right. So this Gen Z chick who she got a wake up call in the real world. I don't know if you've seen this video of this pretty good looking lady who's like, you can get a job as like a part-time model. So anyway, working a full-time job, more specifically at traditional hours of 9 to 5. What a way to make a living. Maybe too much for a Generation Z to bear. Gen Z discovering the real world, it never gets old. The Washington Examiner's Kaylee McKee White recently said on Making Money with Charles Payne, and I say that this is someone who is Gen Z. It's like they're shocked at the idea that she actually have to work a full-time job in order to make money. One young American TikToker recently took to the social media site to showcase her stress and despair over not having time to do anything after working a 9 to 5 job. I want to shower, eat my dinner, and go to sleep. You haven't been showering this whole time? You haven't had a shower since you had a job? You haven't eaten? You look thin, but I don't think you're dying. You've not been sleeping? See, I don't get it, you know. I don't have time or energy to cook my dinner either. Okay. Like, I don't have the energy to work out. Like, that's out the window. Like, I'm so upset. It definitely is a year. The young woman said, is now viral, TikTok said. Nothing to do with my job at all, but it's just like 9 to 5 schedule in general is crazy. Only 9 to 5? You're not working enough. You're not working enough. You know, it's when I was writing, you know, I was all day, every day for weeks. I was thinking about or writing or outlining stories or editing. And that was like all day. Even when like for example, I get to a part in the story like with the Exit 13, you know, it's like I was like, you know, I kind of want to like a refresher, like where I got this idea from. So I watched these old Night Gallery episodes or Twilight Zone episodes, sitting there thinking about like where to go next in the story and stuff like that. I love this old Richard Matheson Twilight Zone. They were the best, if you ask me. So I mean, working is something that, you know, I don't know, something that in many ways you're thinking about all day. You know, this idea of like, you know, you get, you know, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours to yourself. I mean, that's 9 to 5 is 8 hours to yourself, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of work. A third. Seems fair of your daily allotted time, you know. And if you don't think you have time to do anything, it's like, what are you doing? I mean, are you hanging sheetrock all day? Because, I mean, I did that, and that was like 12 hours, 14-hour days sometimes. I didn't like it, and I came home exhausted. There's no way I said, well, I have no time to get to the gym. It's like, I don't want to go to the gym. I barely have enough time to get a six-pack in me and go to sleep till I got to get up and do it all again. You know what I mean? And that's okay. You're young. Get your head down. Get into work for a few years. Look up. Then look up about 5 years later and say, okay, now what do I want to do with my life? That's what work is. You know, I'm not saying that working one 9 to 5 job for 30 years and you're going to get a retirement or something like that, and good luck, by the way, you know, is the way to go. Because it's not like, you know, I went in the Navy for a few years, you know, I worked a bunch of different jobs, you know. But what I always wanted to do was the writing, the podcasting, YouTubing. That's what I always wanted to do. So even when I'm not working my other jobs, I'm thinking about or planning content for this show or stuff to write about. Or even like crazy ideas that EK and I kick around sometimes. Sometimes I'll just sit around, have some whiskey and kick around ideas. What could we do? What could we do to be the next viral thing? And everyone's like, you want to talk too much, Scott. Anyways. All right, so screw this girl. Oh, 8 minutes left. All right, let's talk about something scary. Since I missed Halloween, let's talk about something terrifying. So, spider crawls out a woman's ear in traumatic experience as TikTok video goes viral. Woman has gone viral on TikTok for sharing the details of her too close for comfort encounter with a creepy crawler. Desiree Kelly of Farmington, Missouri, posted a video of herself sitting at the doctor's office where she waited to be seen for something stuck in her ear. After the nurse took a closer look into Kelly's ear, the health professional confirmed that there was indeed something in there and appeared to be curled up in the back of the woman's ear canal. In the video, which has nearly 7 million views, a tearful Kelly reacted with sarcasm about the wonderful news that she waited for her ear to be flushed out. I'm so embarrassed, first of all, because it's so gross, and I'm a clean person, okay, she said. But also, it's an uneasy feeling. Yeah, there's a bug in my ear. Video jumped forward to reveal what was living rent-free in Kelly's ear. It was a spider living in her ear, she said through the tears and shaky breath. It was alive. I threw up. I'm never sleeping again. In a second video posted on Tuesday, she reflected on a traumatic experience, starting how she woke from a dead sleep at 5 a.m. with a strange feeling in her ear. Thought of the tassels about one end of my comforter, so I went back to sleep. Ooh! Creepy, right? Spider on your ear? My dad told us this story once because he worked in the medical business. He tells me the story about how he was like looking at someone came in with trouble in their ear, and he looked in his ear with the ear looker in her thing. I forget what it's called. He looked in it, and he sees this bee's face staring back at him. Doc, I have a buzzing in my ear. So, well, it's like there's a live bee in your ear canal. And so he did the only thing he could do. He had to like go in there with some tweezers and stuff like that. And he's like killed the bee, like punctured its skull, and then started removing it with like little tiny tweezers with like a scope thing on, removing the bee piece by piece out of this dude's ear. Ugh, it makes me sick just to think about it. Anyway, happy Halloween. I missed out on it. Let's do this last story. It's a little bit of a fun, happy story before we leave. So police looking for reported human remains find plastic skull beer bong instead. Trick or treat. So authorities who responded to a call about a possible human remains at the bottom of a Washington river ended up discovering a ghoulish prank in lieu of actual bones. Officer Severin Erickson of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife Police, a detective from Pend Oreille County, and a Border Patrol agent who arrived at the scene after the paddleboarder reported seeing human remains in a cave on the Pend Oreille River. Erickson and the detective rode jet skis towards the area and swam inside the cave to investigate. The WDFW police said in a Facebook page on Wednesday. Erickson said the detective spotted what they thought was a skull, so Erickson put on some goggles and dove to the bottom to get a closer look. They reported the reported remains turned out to be a plastic skull beer bong that had been stuffed full of rocks. The police said. The beer bong consisted of a fake skull and a spinal column that the person would use to quickly funnel a beer into someone's mouth. The officer speculated that the skull was placed in the river as a Halloween prank. While the post is garnering attention, the police is hoping that others do not try similar pranks. Yeah, because they'd rather not be doing that. You know what I mean? Although it's an attempt to be a funny hoax, we discourage people these types of pranks. So they pull law enforcement from pending work and other places, bystanders at risk for their attempts to help. All right. So, in May, officers at Treasure Island Police Department in Florida responded to a call claiming a large alligator was on the beach. When the officers arrived, they weren't messed by a gator, but extremely detailed and lifelike sand sculpture of the reptile. Crikey, look at the size of that gator. One of our officers trying to round up on the Treasure Island Beach last night. The Treasure Island Police Department playfully wrote on a social media post, and it had that accent. It wasn't a real gator, it's just a crafty sand sculpture. Yeah, I guess the skull, putting the skull bong, putting rocks in the skull bong, and throwing it in the river. That's kind of a little too much because that could be dangerous in the water. But making a detailed alligator on the beach and someone mistakes it for an alligator, that person who thought it was a real alligator is just stupid. I mean, I know alligators don't move for a long time. Anyway, but this is going to be the end of the show. I'll remind you again, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. You can also send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio. All one word. I would appreciate that. So I also have books available for digital download. Search in the description below for links to those. You can also follow me on social media at DNALETSAW on Twitter, formerly known as X. Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook, and at SLRoberts13 on Instagram. So yeah, this has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.